I don't do intros. How you guys doing today? I'm doing all right today. Today for you guys, I have a very special video. I'm going to show off all of my PvP clips from Dark Souls 1 from the month of November when I tried Dark Souls 1 PvP for the first time ever. And what you're seeing right now on the screen is actually my first duel I pretty much ever did on Dark Souls 1. I did have like a PvP experience back in the day that I will talk about later that kind of shaped my opinions about the PvP of this game. Um, but I'm glad that I did not let that bad memory deter me, and eventually I did hop back into Dark Souls 1. But first of all, guys, before I talk about this lovely game, Dark Souls 1, um, just want to remind you guys to like and subscribe to the video, man. We did hit 1,000 subscribers before the end of the year, so thank you guys so much for that. But also go follow my Twitch if you haven't already. I do stream over there sometimes. We mostly do Elden Ring invasions and whatnot over there live. And yeah. Also, don't forget to join the PvP Discord that I made. I made a Discord where you can send me your clips, show me your fashion, show me your builds and stuff like that. And there's a couple of folk on there already that are already showing off builds and whatnot. And it was kind of like my way to give back to subscribers. You know, you can communicate with me very easily on there, more than YouTube, if you want to. And the clip that you're seeing right now is actually me invading Saint Riot during his dried finger run. I'm sorry to whoever that red was that I accidentally exploded with Great Fireball. I do apologize. So fun fact, after that little duel I had at the beginning of the video, I sat at the bonfire because I was trying to upgrade some weapons, and Saint invaded me. I didn't even know that he was streaming. He invaded me. And we had a little fight, and it was like my second duel ever in Dark Souls 1, and Saint absolutely destroyed me. But it was fun, man. It was fun, mainly because when I opened his stream and I saw that he invaded me, he said, "Oh, look, it's Dust Insanity." So, you know, kind of made me feel a little bit validated. Shout out to Saint Riot, man. Awesome guy. Love his streams. Go check him out if you haven't already, guys. Anyway, let's talk about Dark Souls 1, man. I don't know why Dark Souls 1 was popping so much in the month of November. Again, I know that Saint was doing his dried finger run, and a lot of people joined him with that. But like, this was before Saint was even doing a dried finger run, where I got all these clips at, you know. I literally only have one clip from his dried finger run because I didn't really participate in it. But like, look at all these clips, man. These were before Saint did the dried finger run. It felt like I could pop a cracked red eye orb, which is what they're called in this game, and I can get an instant invasion in Dark Souls 1. I did like 4 builds. I still have one build that I'm working on, and the reason why I'm working on all these Dark Souls 1 builds was because I believe in October, I think it was, I looked at Dark Souls 1, and I realized I literally didn't have any builds on this game. I had one character that was like level 350, where I had beaten the game like 3 times on that character. But I literally, I just, you know, that character had everything. He was like, he had literally 99 endurance, so I could wear whatever the hell I wanted. Like, like that character had everything. He wasn't really a build. I couldn't really co-op with anyone or do PvP or anything like that because he was such a high level. Here you go, Giant Dad versus Whitehander guy. And I'll talk about all the builds here in a second. I just kind of want to talk about why I jumped into Dark Souls 1 PvP for a minute here. I guess the real reason is I just didn't have any builds on this game. And I asked myself, why don't you have literally any characters on this game? You know, it's very unlike me. I even have multiple builds on Dark Souls 2. And I probably have the least amount of playtime on Dark Souls 2. Demon Souls, I only had one character on Demon Souls until very, very recently. And we'll talk about Demon Souls and stuff like that in a bit. So, you know, it was insane to me because And as far as like my list of Souls games, my top three favorite Souls games are Bloodborne, Dark Souls 1, then Elden Ring. That is my list. And then Dark Souls 3 would probably be number 4. So it was like mental to me that I didn't have any PvP builds on Dark Souls 1. I didn't even understand how to matchmake in Dark Souls 1, and I'll talk about that in a bit too as well. Um, so, I just started thinking up character ideas, and I decided to do a couple of things. Um, One, I wanted to make like a Paladin of Velka build at like 125 or something like that, 120-ish. Originally, he was supposed to be at 91 because apparently 91 in this game can invade to 120 with max level weapons. So that's kind of what I did, but I didn't get any activity because I think most people in this game go to 125 for all their activity. So I just took him to 125 to see if I could find. No, I'm sorry, not to 91. It was that character specifically went to 120. That took him to 125. And I messed up the Dark Stalker Koth quest. So guys, if you want to get cracked red eye orbs or the cracked red eye orb from the Dark Rays Covenant, do not ever talk to Frampt at all. Just don't. The first character I made on Dark Souls 1 in November recently, I accidentally talked to Frampt and I placed the Lord Vessel. You have to have the Lord Vessel in your inventory when you talk to Frampt. Not Frampt. When you kill the four kings, or else Koth actually won't spawn, and then you can't join the Dark Raves, and then you can't get cracked red eye orbs or the big red eye orb. You just can't. Which for me, I wanted to be a Dark Moonblade on that character anyway. So then I just like asked somebody to drop me a bunch of red eye orbs, and they did. So I didn't make that mistake again though, because the next character I made, and again that Paladin of Velka build is the one that's using Dark Moonblade on the barbed straight sword, and it has Wrath of God, and it has like all the Velka spells and stuff like that. And I'm sure you guys have seen it already. It has Vow of Silence, Karmic Justice. I actually really love Karmic Justice. I think it's awesome. I've killed people with it, but the clips weren't good enough to show off, so I didn't show them off. But yeah, Karmic Justice is awesome. Vow of Silence is awesome. I love the Velka spells, man. I love the Velka fashion. And I thought like a straight sword made of thorns was perfect for the goddess of sin. So that's kind of why I went with the barbed straight sword and Dark Moonblade, because she's kind of like a dark deity, and I know that's more associated with Gwendolyn than Velka, but in my mind it makes more sense for a Velka build, so that's why I did that. The next character I made was the one that you're seeing with the Zweihander and the Claymore and Quaylock's Fury Sword. Here's the Paladin of Velka build I was talking about. So that guy is pretty much the most basic Dark Souls 1 PvP character that you're ever going to see in your life. He has Claymore, he's got Quaylock's Fury Sword, he's got the Zweihander, he's a quality build, and he uses Pyromancies like Black Flame. Black Flame is actually really dumb in this game. So Dark Souls 1 has like the strongest poise system out of all the Dark Souls games and whatnot. Like, poise is very, very ridiculous in Dark Souls 1. And, here's the character I'm talking about, actually. His name is Hollow Yol. A reference to my Elden Ring quality build character, of course, that I had at level 80. So, Dark Souls 1 has, like, the craziest amount of poise system ever, right? Like, it's... If you have a lot of poise, you'll pretty much never get staggered. Black Flame says, fuck that, you're always staggered. So that's why Black Flame is, like, ridiculous. And then Pyromancies, of course, they're just insane in Dark Souls 1. They're the best they've ever been in Dark Souls 1. I kind of wish they brought it back like that, honestly. Yeah. So that's kind of that character. He it's a quality build, and he has like the claymore, and he has his Y-hander, and he has a couple of other weapons, and he has a pyromancy glove to do insane amounts of damage with a black flame and a chaos fireball and stuff like that, right? This character, the one that you're seeing on the screen right now, might be my favorite of all the characters that I've made. It's the most simplest knight guy ever. His name is Knight Dustin, of course, a reference to myself. So I parried this guy like several times on this elevator in Dark and Orlando, by the way. He never gets reposted. I can't repost him. I think it's probably because of we're on the elevator, and that's why it's not considered stable ground, which is very very strange. But that is how that works, I think. Anyway, this guy right here, he has the most simple setup ever. He just has the Havel Ring, the Ring of Favor. He has 3 weapons on him, which are a raw Baldur's Side sword, a Chaos Baldur's Side sword if things get really, really sweaty, and a Chaos infused longsword with a Grass Crest shield. And he has a couple of pieces of the Elite Knight armor and a couple of pieces of the Knight armor. And he's just the most basic Knight guy ever. And he's like level 41, I think. And he gets like insane amount of activity in Orlando, and I love it. And Orlando invasions might be my favorite. They're so fun, man. And Orlando is like one of the funnest levels to invade at, and I'm glad I went back and did it. Because I never really did it back in the day, man. I guess I'll talk about my Dark Souls 1 experience back in the day. So back in 2018, 2019, when Dark Souls Remastered first came out, I made a pyromancer character that was like a pure one-shot pyromancy build, right? It had like Quayloc's Fury Sword, it had like a max pyromancy glove, and it was all legit. Like it was all like I didn't glitch the game or anything like that. I played through the game, and whatnot. I already had played Dark Souls 1 on PC, the Prepare to Die edition, before Remaster came out, and then I got remastered on the PS4, and it was a great time. Back in those days, though, Dark Souls 1 was very, very poppin' because Dark Souls Remastered had just come out. So the activity was, like, really, really active. It was, like, as active as Dark Souls 3 was. And yeah, that was, like, right after... it was, like, right after Ring City, I think, and right before Sekiro. So we were still like in the Elden Ring waiting room. So Dark Souls 1 was like really really popping as activity wise and whatnot. I let this whole one experience shape my my whole thought process behind Dark Souls 1 PvP, and I never really gave it a fair shake after that. Some Havel monster invaded me with a weapon I had never seen before. It's called the Golden Tracer. That's what it was called. This guy was full Havel, and he had the Golden Tracer. He didn't even roll because he didn't need to roll because he had so much poise, right? That was the thing about Dark Souls 1, is that when you had a lot of poise, when you had some heavy armor on, you traded your roll to not be able to roll, to to not be able to get staggered. And that's why the armor was really good. In other games, it doesn't really work like that anymore. I mean, the armor doesn't even give you like great amount of defense in like Dark Souls 3 and whatnot. Yeah, you'll still die really easily if you're not able to roll in those games. Dark Souls 1, you can sit there and never get staggered and chug your flask while fighting Gwyn if you want to, right? The final boss of the game. He'll never stagger you if you have full Havel armor on. And you won't need to roll because you could just heal and you'll poise through it, right? The other games aren't like that. So I found this Havel monster. He invaded me here in Orlando, actually, like right at the beginning of the level when I was barely human. I had just beaten the Iron Golem. And again, this was like back in 2018. And he invaded me multiple times, man. Like as I was trying to get through Anne Orlando. And he was such a demon. He would do like the well, what is it pose on me. Right? and he would hit me with a gold tracer, and it felt like he had infinite stamina, and I couldn't stagger him, and he would bleed me out in 3 hits. Also, the constant backstab, but that's a big thing about this game. A lot of people don't like Dark Souls 1 PvP because of the backstabbing, right? Uh, which is insane. If you guys don't know, like, if anybody runs behind you at all in your general direction, you will be backstabbed, kind of like this. Even if you roll away, even if you run away, you will get pulled back into the backstab, and that was like that on the Prepare to Die edition as well as remastered. They did not fix it for the remaster. I believe it was like that on Demon Souls as well. It's definitely like that in the Demon Souls remake. Speaking of those older games, man, last year, the year 2023, because we're in December right now. We're about to be in 2024, guys. Merry Christmas, by the way. Happy Thanksgiving, all that stuff. Um, we, I specifically went through a lot of the Souls games that I really didn't really give a chance to for their PvP. Right? I played Dark Souls 2 this year for like the first time ever. I'm playing Dark Souls 1 now. I played the Demon Souls remake, and previously I had like really bad experiences with those games, Dark Souls 1, 2, and Demon Souls, where I just like would play the PvP back in the day, then I got destroyed and never wanted to again. Um, but as I'm revisiting these games, I am falling in love with their PvP, and I'm really happy that we have these return to events. If you guys don't know, um, a couple of the months out of the year, this year, last year, and next year, there were slash is going to be return to events that return players, like a little bit of the player base to the game. I think the events are mostly held on Reddit for the most part. But I'm going to do my best to participate in all of them. I actually made all of these builds on Dark Souls 1 in preparation for the Return to Lordran event. Because in January of this year, I'm not sure exactly what day it starts and whatnot. I think it's early January. Um, the Return to Lordran event happens, and if you guys don't know what these Return to events entail, it's mostly just to get some players playing the game again and to encourage as much co-op slash PvP as you possibly can do during the time that we are playing these games. Now, why Dark Souls 1 got like a huge spike in November this year, I have no idea. There was no return to events in November. And again, a lot of it was thanks to Saint, but a lot of this stuff was just like happening before Saint was even playing the game. So I'm not sure why Dark Souls 1 was so active. By the way, this is the other character I made. He's a Gravelord character. He's level 15. And, man, I love Undead Burning Invasions. I love Undead Parish Invasions. They're also awesome as well. And I can Gravelord people. And there were lots of Gravelords out. I know you've seen a couple clips where I was Gravelording or people were, or I was invading another Gravelord. There was lots of people Gravelording during November. Um, but yeah, I have on the flip ring, and I also have on the Gravelord sword, which is like uh probably like the most powerful early game weapon that you could possibly like ever get. It's insane, man. You can get it from the start of the game, pretty much. You just run down to the catacombs, grab the Eyes of Dev, sit in the coffin, and join Nito's Covenant, and you can pretty much get this weapon like as soon as you possibly can. Pretty much as soon as this Y-hander, which is like right there, which is why the Giant Dad build is so popular, because you can put it together so easily, at least for the most part, right? But yeah, man, I've really been enjoying these return to events, and I will be participating very heavily in the Dark Souls 1 Return to Lordran event. I'm not sure which one follows it. It might be Dark Souls 2 in February. Don't quote me on that. I actually don't know. Um, but I do know that Bloodborne happens in March, and also a lot of people love to play Bloodborne in October as well. I didn't do that this year, but I think next year I'm definitely going to do it. I do miss me some Bloodborne. I just wish that uh, you can get like early game invasions in Bloodborne. You really can't, right? Because of how the game is laid out. Like you can't summon anybody unless you have insight and then buy the bell. And like no one really does that for Central Yarnum, which sucks, man, because Central Yarnum is one of the best levels that From Software has ever created. And it sucks that you really can't invade in PvP there, mainly because the people that you would invade don't have access to online, therefore you can't invade them. They don't even have the Sinister Bell, right? If they had a Sinister Bell, you probably couldn't invade them. Um, if they ever remaster Bloodborne, which cross my fingers and hope to die that they do, um, I think you should just start off with the multiplayer items and they don't require insight. Just to like encourage online activity, right? Because why would you want to not do that? Some quality of life changes to Bloodborne would be awesome. But ladies and gentlemen, we are talking about Dark Souls 1 right now. Um, so something that I have planned in the future is I kind of want to make this like Velka build for all the games of Dark Souls 1. And I also, or not Dark Souls 1, but this Dark Souls in general. Like a Dark Paladin kind of build, of course. And I also want to make the Moonlight Knight. I have a Moonlight Knight on EldenRing, Bloodborne, um, Dark Souls 3. I have a Moonlight Knight. Uh, I don't have one on Dark Souls 2, and I'm working on the Moonlight Knight build on Dark Souls 1. But man, it is a pain in the ass to just even get through the archives on a magic build, let alone like get to Seif and cut his tail on a magic build. It's kind of crazy. Oh, I have a Moonlight Knight on Demon Souls as well. I do have a Moonlight Knight on Demon Souls, and I love that build. It's a very fun build. Um, anyway, guys, I wasn't really planning to ramble for 20 minutes, and I'm definitely not gonna ramble for another 10 minutes here. So I'm gonna leave you guys here to enjoy the rest of these Dark Souls 1 clips, man. Um, and I hope I've inspired you to kind of make a build for this game and join in the fun for the Return to Lordran event that's happening in January. Um, anyway, guys, if you like this kind of content, it's kind of PvP content, Elden Ring, Dark Souls, Souls likes, I do it all, man. Be sure to like and subscribe to the video, man. We hit 1,000 subs before the end of the year. Thank you guys so much for that. Go follow my Twitch if you haven't already. Go join the PVPBuilds Discord if you want to communicate with me. Show me your builds, show me your clips, whatever you want. And give me your thoughts on Dark Souls 1 PvP, man. I think it's awesome. I'm glad I gave it another chance. It's really fun, man. But with that being said, guys, fare thee well, peace out, and all that fun stuff. I'll see you guys later, man. And don't you dare go hollow, friends. Almost forgot that part.